Hey everybody. I'm really studying the triggers in myself and studying the triggers in other people, especially with the different friends on my Facebook. And I understand what triggers the general population out there when it comes to so much information. And everybody is coming from the standpoint of trying to save themselves. So the intentions out there are 100% pure. No matter what, even if you kill something, you're still trying to save something, because the reason why you're killing something is because you're trying to save yourself or save somebody else. Because every action does come from the standpoint of trying to save something, or you wouldn't do it. And that's a weird thing. I never really thought about that. Actually, that just kind of popped in my head, because I'm looking at like some of these killers that are out there, and they're, even though they kill something, they're doing it in the name of their own life. They're trying to save themselves, so they kill something else. It's kind of a misrepresentation of what life is, but it's a mutated way of coming from. But that's essentially what it means. I mean, when people do activist types of stuff, and it ends up killing people or whatever, they're trying to come from a standpoint of, if they kill this thing, it'll stop them the killing of something else. And so that's where everybody is coming from. And that's a trip, because that's a hard perspective to come from, because the outcome isn't exactly aligned with the intention, but that's the intention. And so we have to then figure out in our life, based upon the knowledge that we have, whether or not, somebody's actions or what they say or what they do is truly, aligned with what we believe in. And, and we've had such a misrepresentation of what life is and what life means and what life, what everything about life. And so now we have another argument to put out there on the table, that maybe life doesn't have to die at all. And so that's now another thing that triggers people, because it's like, when you're so used to assuming that life is going to end, just not as soon as, not sooner than you expect, then, it's hard to hear somebody say something completely the opposite, that life can be indefinite, right? So I now am very, like, with the way my biochemistry is, I'm very focused on what triggers me. Now, before, triggers used to be something like where you have to wonder why it is. And then when you get triggered by somebody or something, it means you have to fix yourself so you can handle whatever somebody says that triggers you, and that they deserve to be in your life, and that you're the one that's at fault, that you're the one that has to fix yourself so you can handle somebody else triggering you. And that's not right at all. Absolutely not. Because the triggers that you have is based upon the conflicting biochemistry. Okay? So when you get triggered by either a political party or by some political action committee or by, somebody on your Facebook, you have to now look at, why exactly are you triggered? Now, you have, different signals. You have different things that you have to deal with, because maybe this person is, this is what I deal with. I have people that say they're aligned by me, that they like what I'm doing. They like the fact that I am trying to help humanity and people are getting benefit, but they don't like the fact that I am holding people accountable, and I'm not saying ignoring that somebody needs help, but I'm saying, hey, I'm not going to baby you and hold your hand through this process. So then this person doesn't understand that when you do a tough love, it's not that you're ignoring suffering, you're just holding somebody accountable to either sink or swim, because you can't save everybody. You can give people the information, but you can't save them. So then they write on their Facebook, oh, I don't want to ignore this suffering, I don't want to ignore all this stuff. And anyone that does is a reptilian brain. They're trying to cannibalize their own or something, right? I'm just like, what the hell? And so, I get triggered. I'm like, what? And I see that this is sort of speaking to me. Now, they may not at all be directing this towards me. They could be directing it to somebody else. But I see that what they're exemplifying is learned helplessness. They're exemplifying that you enable everybody, no matter who they are, and give them everything. And to help every single person, right? It means that you give them stuff. Because sometimes ignoring somebody, sometimes deleting somebody after Facebook, is saving yourself. So you don't get pulled down into somebody else's woe is me, because you have to save yourself. But you're also giving them information, should they want it, in a different way. You're not exactly being the most accessible to them. They can get access to your information in a different way. So I'm just like, so I'm looking at, this person's communication where they like me, but yet they have this, they have certain posts or something that says completely the opposite of my information or what I've been saying. And I'm like, okay, this is, I'm getting triggered by this. And I'm not seeing really, when you, I don't know, I'm looking at my world and about hormones and what drives hormones. And when I see somebody is working from a straight one hormone, and that's all they're working from, they don't understand positive and negative forces, then I'm like, okay, I'm getting triggered by this because this person's working from a straight love hormone. They're all about love, 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 and that's it. They don't understand boundaries. They don't understand all those other things. And so then they also enable people who, who shouldn't have somebody totally help them, because they need to learn, how to fend for on their own. Obviously, if somebody is dying out there on the street, you help them, right? You don't ignore it. But, help and enabling people is very, there's different levels and severity, and you as a person, will have to have that discernment on who you help and who you don't help. And sometimes if there's imminent danger, obviously, but if there's not, then what are you helping, right? And so, I examine everything through what triggers me. And that's exactly what I think that we all should do, because if you are getting triggered, it's not because it's being triggered in a good way for you. I mean, it could be triggered because this person really is speaking out against you, but they're doing it in a very, indirect way. And I do the same thing too. I don't exactly talk about someone with their name, but I will talk about the actions that they did. And the person that knows who I'm talking about will know I'm talking about them. And they're either going to love or hate that information. I mean, triggers is what your gut is telling you something, that something is wrong here. Okay, it's your biochemistry telling something is wrong here. And then you're going to have to then pick it apart. If you react emotionally exactly, then there's because you're not really interested in trying to figure it out. And then if they do find a way to get a hold of you, then you hash it out. That's great. But you don't want to be always, going into battle all the time. Sometimes it's better just to get rid of the trigger, because you don't want to be battling 24/7. There's some battles that are worth fighting for, others that are not. And so, I think it's a good thing that we have these triggers. And it's a good thing because that way what it is that you need to battle. I mean, are politics a good trigger to have to battle? It's a waste of energy. We don't know. I mean, look, I'm watching the Designated Survivor, Kiefer Sutherland. And he, and it's about this guy who, there's an attack on American soil, and he is now left to be the president because the president and the vice president were killed. And so he, is now in office. And I think he was either like the Speaker of the House or something. I forget exactly. But, he's being advised by different people. He doesn't know everything that goes on because he has all these advisors. Okay. And these advisors may have an ulterior motive. They may have conspiracies going on in their world, and it shows, and so the show is showing you like a bird's eye view of what he's going through. He doesn't know exactly all of the backroom deals that are going on. So he gets advised on something, and it really is the wrong advice because he's not there. He's not watching. Now, he does go and they do sort of justify some of their advice, but he doesn't know everything. He doesn't know all the different things that are going on until somebody alerts him, and he has to go look for the proof, right? And so, we don't know what our leaders go through. They make choices based upon their advisors. They may sort of get, some evidence to support some of these advisors' advice, but sometimes not. Sometimes things are manufactured. Hollywood is so good at creating perception. that even the most discerning person doesn't even know what the intention of that person or persons are. So we have absolutely no idea what is real and what isn't. So we go into these battles that really don't deserve to have a battle even behind it. You shouldn't be, I mean, you shouldn't have to expend your energy on a battle that you have no idea if it's true or not. Okay? So it's like, unless you have dealt with it yourself, unless you've seen for yourself, and even what you see for yourself, you don't even know it's true or not, because you have no idea if it's contrived for a specific reason. Now, yeah, if there's an accident down the street and you have no idea who these people are and they don't have any kind of connection to you, then yeah, it's something that happens and you're looking at it, okay, it's this person's fault, and that's it, right? There is no intention or there's no ulterior motive to have you think in one way or the other, right? Because an accident is an accident. But then you have these things like these theaters, like, you know, the foreign policy and the Russia and the Yemen and all these things. And we don't know if something's been staged, if something actually happened organically, or if it's, or organic. You know, that's the difference between, you know, something is staged, something happened organically. Is anything organic in this world? No, it's based upon intention. The outcome is the intention. Whether or not we know it, the outcome is the intention. Because if we intend something good to happen, then good will happen. If we intend something bad to happen, that bad stuff will happen, whatever it is. So, you know, the fact that we have these issues in our government is not because, you know, I don't know, because there's there's so many different realities, so many things that are staged and not staged. It's crazy. So if you're getting triggers because your gut is telling you that something is not right here, should you really at all be involved with it? And if you can't really figure out and discern what is truth and what is not, then you got to get away from it. If something is triggering, you got to remove the triggers. If I'm triggering you and you're triggering me, and we can't get to a point of where we can handle each other, then you go your way and I go mine, and that's okay. Because, you know, you're the one that wants to be in my world, right? I don't necessarily want to be in your world unless you're agreeing with me. So, you know, it comes to that. It comes to a point. So if we're triggering each other, then there's no reason to have a relationship in any way, shape, or form. And that's how we have to see things. Because, you know, and then, you know, you figure out, once you remove all the triggers that you can control, then guess what? Your life is peaceful. But if you're constantly trying to invite all the triggers because you're trying to work through something and you think everybody that's triggering you is something that you have to work through, that's also the other end of this pendulum that is detrimental. You see, the triggers is your gut reaction saying that there's something wrong here. You need to get away from whatever it is. And if I'm triggering you and you think I'm detrimental to whatever your belief system is, then you can go away. And then, you know, and then you'll live, you know, by your own values and whatever they are. So if I trigger you because it challenges your spirituality or challenges your reality in whatever way, shape, or form, then you don't need to be in my world. And then you can have a predictable life out there that has checkpoints until you pass away. And that's okay, because I'm not trying to make somebody live if they don't want to live. You can't force life onto somebody. But now if someone says, hey, if they want to live, and I'm giving them some evidence to say that they can live indefinitely, and you're mad at me, then and you want to keep challenging me, then, you know, and then I'm having to figure out whether or not you're really truly wanting to live, or you're just like, I don't know. So that's a confusion that you have, and that's the battle that you have that I don't necessarily need to belong to. So you may have the intention to live and to help people, but you're still run by a hormone that you're willing to take everybody, and you have no discernment on who people are. Or you're saying that you want to help everybody, but not really, because how do you help somebody on Facebook? How do you say that, oh yeah, I believe we should all help each other. Everyone should help each other. But what does that actually mean? Are you going to go and pay their bills? Are you going to go and feed everybody? I mean, that's essentially what you're saying. Okay? So, you know, if that is your thought process, that you like my information, but you don't like the fact that I have discernment, then, you know what? Then are you really truly trying to help people, or are you trying to look like you're trying to help people? Is it a false perception that you're putting out there because of your vanity, because of your oxytocin. You're trying to gain more hormones, the more love hormone. And I know I triggered some mommies out there that have kids, that have young girls. They're all about love, 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 love. And then they think that when I have a boundary, because someone doesn't understand where I'm coming from and they refuse to, and they keep pushing my boundaries and I cut them off, they think it's me ignoring somebody helping them. But they may not be talking about me, but they look at everybody else. When you ignore the suffering, it's because, do you really, I mean, you have to look at when people suffer, some people choose to suffer. You can't force help on people. Some people will say, I'm suffering, and that is their MO. They're always suffering because they're always trying to elicit sympathy, and they're not willing to do the work to end their own suffering. So at some point, you're going to have a boundary, say, I'm done helping you, because you're always continuously suffering and you're not taking care of business, and say, hey, what can I do in my world to end my own suffering? That's the Cinderella syndrome that women have in our society, in the Western society, is because of the, oh, let the man save me. Hey, I was also part of that too. And then when you're all vain about your looks and about how you look on Facebook and, and everything else, it really shows that you are living from that love hormone. You're trying to look and attract, the male, the other sex. You're trying to look sexy. And then you're trying to come from like, oh, I'm about love, 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 helping everybody. I don't have any discernment. I mean, this is what some people who are really stuck with the love hormone, they don't have any discernment on who it is they attract, because they're trying to attract people that are just like them. They're all about love, love, love. And really, when you actually go down deep, down and die, and you look at their world, they're barricaded against, they don't want strangers coming into their house. They wouldn't take in strangers from over the Mexico. Okay, they wouldn't take in someone that they don't know, but they talk a great game. And so that's what I'm trying to, so that's why I get triggered by those that are all about love and all about, helping everybody. And then saying anyone that rejects someone that's suffering is a reptilian. And when someone mentions their reptilian brain, they're still stuck in the conspiracy theory. They're still stuck out there in the love hormones, the oxytocin. They're still stuck in how to look on Facebook. They want to attract everybody because they have so many people they have attracted, because they have so many people who are imbalanced. They're all full of the pleasure hunting type of lifestyle. And so they won't say it on my Facebook, no, but then I read their Facebook and I get triggered. I know why I get triggered, because I know they're talking about me, but maybe not directly. Because remember, we're not about direct communication in our society. We talk through passive aggressive posts, and I do the same things. I don't want to confront everybody. So yeah, I will do passive aggressive stuff on Facebook, and then it triggers them, and then I realize that I trigger them, and I see what they post, and then bam, I knew that they were affected by my information, because I knew I was speaking to them, but indirectly. And when you trigger somebody, you know exactly the data that you need to then either take them in your life and deal with it, and realize that you are really on the same page because they're willing to look at different perspectives, or they're just, completely the opposite, and they talk one game and do something different. Okay. And this is, this is why I focus so much on what people say, how they say it, what they write on their Facebook, what they say to me, because it does tell me, and it has me understand humanity. So that way you understand humanity, so you don't walk into a trap that you have no business walking into. Okay? You've got to be aware. And some of you are very aware, and some of you aren't. Some of you have zero boundaries. And so you're willing to be okay with someone angry facing you on your Facebook. And then when you question why, hey, why did you angry face, and they don't respond, what was your reaction after that? And if they don't answer, and maybe you question them through private messenger, and if they still don't answer, then what are you gonna do? You're gonna let it go and have that negative energy be right there, or you're gonna counter it with a positive energy, which is take them off your Facebook, because you don't need that kind of crap in your life. Even an angry face, you don't need that. Or do you say, okay, well, I see you angry face this, but since you're a friend of mine, I'm going to counter it by saying, this, and this. But then you have to wonder, I mean, I don't tolerate any angry faces on my Facebook. And if it was a mistake, then someone will message me, or they'll email me and say, hey, I didn't mean to do this, or hey, I saw you block me. Why was it? And then, and then I probably won't remember. But people who, who really are involved with me, I would know who they are. Those that are just like passive people who do random likes and dislikes and angry faces, they're not that involved. And so when I block them, they don't really care, and they won't find a way. And if someone really truly wants to get my information, they'll find a way. And then they'll write to say, hey, I have been blocked by you, and I don't know why, but I'm sorry if I have offended you. And I'll be like, okay, yeah, that's fine. That's great. See, how I determine who gets back on my Facebook is based upon them saying, hey, I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry that I did this. I won't do it again. Promise. Great. I have the greatest intentions, and maybe we just had a misunderstanding. And then I'm like, wow, that is authentic. And I'm saying, hey, I'm so sorry that we had a misunderstanding. Just try to chill, and I really want you to get, the best benefit out of this. And then I'm great. But no, I get people who will go back and forth saying, oh, well, I never meant to trigger you, or and you got triggered by this. I mean, they still come from very self-righteous, and they're not willing to give a little bit to take any type of responsibility for any interaction. Because Facebook is about how you have relationships. What is your communication? We have no communication in our society. We do, but it's really messed up and fucked up. And we don't bother to find out sometimes. And so, so that's why I do what I do, because if I interacted and asked every single person on Facebook why they did this, it would be insane. So then I have to sometimes some of you who are friends of mine, I will block, and then I'll make you go into my email, and then we'll go hash it out, and then everything is great, or private messenger or on the phone. But this is why I focus so much on this, because communication is key. Direct, clear-cut communication is key. And if we're not having clear-cut communication and boundaries, that's why people get victimized. That's why we have cancer, disease, and chronic illness, because no one knows how to communicate in a clear way to save ourselves from the negative elements that are out there, because there's negative elements out there that we cannot control, but we can control our own world. And so you have to have boundaries, you have to have good communication, and you've got to be able to find ways to vet people out that may be undermining you. And they may not be undermining you, but they intentionally, but they have their own issues. And then you got to determine whether or not that you belong in their world and they belong in your world. Okay, so this may seem like weird to people out there who don't really give a shit, but I'm trying to figure out my reactions and understand myself, and that means it's understanding what you guys are doing. Because how I understand what I'm doing is understanding how you guys react. Because then that's what I see with me. We are a mirror of each other. Okay, so that's why you must study the triggers. And some of you that don't get triggered at all, then you're completely zombified. If you completely checked out and nothing bothers you and everything is wonderful, then you're on the other end of where you're basically, you're anesthetized, you're zombified. If you allow everybody in your life and you have no discernment and you love everybody, I'd be concerned about you. Who are you allowing in your house? When people love everybody and then they have a house, they have like maybe 10 rooms in their house, and they have a daughter or a son, and they're putting out there on Facebook, hey, I got a room for rent. Yeah, I'll do a background check, but I got a room for rent. And you have a kid in your house. But you're coming from love, love, love. Everybody, I love everybody love, but they have no discernment on protecting yourself and your child, because you're allowing a stranger you have no idea off the street, off of Facebook, to come into your house where your kid is at. This is where people don't have discernment. They're all about love. They will allow everybody into their life, and then they wonder why it is their kid gets victimized. They wonder why it is they got victimized. This is where this is key to understand about overabundance of hormones and what triggers you. And if you don't get triggered by anybody, then, oh my God, you have zero discernment. And that's dangerous for yourself and for your child. So that's why I focus so much on triggers. That's why I focus so much on what people say, what people do, and then how I vet them out to figure out if they're really appropriate for the communication via Facebook. And if you're not appropriate for my Facebook, then you get thrown into my discussion forum. And then you'll have to be very premeditated on what you say, because it's not easy, instant gratification like you get on Facebook. And some people who are very triggered, who don't like me anyways, won't take the time to go through the protocol or read the book and even go into my website, because this is where their hormone-induced addictions lay within. Facebook is what gives them the impetus to live from their addictions, their hormones. This is their hormone-based reality. And I'm not going to be that. That's why I don't like any crazy reactions. You like it? Yeah, you can love me. That's great. But if you love me so much, then, hopefully I don't fall off that pedestal. So don't love me, love the information, love the messenger, I guess, on some level, right? And I don't mind that. I have people that say that they love me, and I don't want to ever fall off that pedestal. But I can tell when someone, isn't, I can tell when someone loves me, but they don't have any discernment. Then I can tell someone that loves me that has discernment, because I put them two together, and I see the ones that love me that then finally hated me. They didn't have a lot of discernment. They didn't listen to my boundaries. When I said don't message me, they keep messaging me all the time. Okay, so I can tell when there's a pure love, like, yes, because they understand me, and I can tell when they just love me because it's just another thing that that they can support. It has like major controversy and it feeds into their game, whatever that game is. So it's a trip. And so, yeah, so you guys study your friends and family, study all of your Facebook people. You see, when they put themselves, when someone has something bad happen to them, you realize that they have an overabundance of certain hormones and they didn't have the discernment. Be very scared for those that love everybody, that will allow strangers to live with them with their children. Be very scared for those people because they don't have that discernment, because they're coming from an overabundance of love. Be very scared of people who say they love everybody and they want to help everybody, and they don't like people that have boundaries, because they're the ones that pretend they're something, but when you look at it, they don't really live that life at all. Because let me tell you, they have boundaries at their house. They won't allow a stranger in their house, but they'll tell you, oh yeah, I want to help everybody, but God forbid they will not take in a migrant worker from Mexico. They wouldn't do it. And if they did, I'd be scared of that too. You see what I'm saying? So you have to have boundaries. You have to have positive and negative forces to protect yourself and protect your kids. And you also can give people information without compromising your world. And then you're able to discern who it is that you let close in and who it is you're like, okay, I can only handle you from a distance. I know you have great intentions, but you're still, hormonal. So this is just, more for you guys to start understanding the world that you live in. And this will help you in your sales. This will help you in choosing the right job. This will help you in your relationships. This will help you in so many things that you want to embark upon so you can be successful. Because it's all about being successful and understanding the psychology and the hormones of people around you, so you know who it is you're going to invest energy in. I mean, when you're selling a house, you can read energy. You can read if this person's going to waste your time or if they're really a legit, person. And so, yeah, I mean, this is paramount in every single thing that you do. So that's why I study people, because people is what makes this world go round. And if you're oblivious to people and their intentions and what drives them, then you're going to go into this life blind, getting fucked all over the place, literally. And that's what the allopathic and the holistic market, they do. P-A-T-H-I-C, pathic. You're getting probed and you're getting effed by people because you don't understand the world that you live in and your own body. So now I'm just trying to give you guys as much information as possible so that way you're not getting effed by this system and by your friends and your family and people that you haven't, figured out. So yeah, I have deleted some people off my Facebook. Like today, I did block one lady today. And I've had some Facebook Lives that were referencing her, but I never said her name. But I had her in my mind. And so, and she says one thing but does completely the other, and then her Facebook, it says is in complete defense of loving everybody. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. you're triggering me, and I see why, because you still have the overabundance of oxytocin, and you wouldn't bring some stranger in your house. I would not think you would. And if you did, I would be very concerned too. Okay? So no matter what, just take all this information as data. If you get triggered by it, it's because you're working through something. But if you really, if I've known you for a while, then we do have, a connection in some way, and we just have to work through the difficulties. Okay? And so that's what I want everybody to understand. When I do have a difficult interaction with you, or I've made some decision to either block or whatever, it's because I'm still working through with whatever. And there's something in your world that I may have been triggered by that I'm working through myself. I know you guys have your own journeys. I understand that. But I also am very, very definitive in where I want to go with this. And I want to see certain types of actions from people that I don't see, and that's okay. Some of you are, doing the best you can with whatever, and that's fine. And so I take that into account. I know you're working through stuff. So, and some of you are very, 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 I'd say you have contributed with either comments or, you're working with your friends and family and whatever. So I take all of these things into account. So when you are active on my Facebook in some way, you're always, there's going to be some miscommunication somewhere. And then when I do have an issue and then we work it out, I'll remember, what it is that you've contributed and what you haven't and whatever. And then I'll take, all of that is just data. I don't just cut somebody off for no freaking reason. There's always things that led up to it. And then I have to go and consider it, because once all the emotions are come down and whatever, then I consider everything. Then I say, okay, this person is worth being in my world. I know they're trying to work through stuff. Maybe their other half isn't exactly on board, and that's okay. So I'll remove that trigger. I'm sure they're really great, but stuff happens to whatever, right? So it's all just a dance. And as long as we're dancing safely, then we can just keep dancing. As long as we keep communicating and voicing whatever, issues that we have, no matter what it is, and we can hear it, okay. Okay, and then we just move beyond and then just get to the next level, whatever that is. And if you haven't interacted with me so much and all you're just doing is supporting me and liking, then perfect, you're in a great clear. But if you have triggered me in some way, or you're questioning some information, or you're defending your position, then yes, that is going to be, data that I'm going to be considering if things get awry. But if you're always supporting and everything is great, then I have no beef. It's the ones that have misgivings, or they're working through their own shit and it's bleeding over into my Facebook. Then I'm like, okay, who are you and what are you and what's going on? And then I have to go and vet you more. So my gut reaction, my triggers in my gut give me data to then start exploring deeper. You guys, listen to your gut, listen to your triggers, remove triggers if necessary, or examine why you got triggered. And, and a lot of my information, about hormones and whatever else, I understand. So I'm working from that point of view. Some of you don't really understand hormones yet, but I'm giving you keys. I'm giving you different, I'm giving you more information so you understand why you may be triggered by this one person. So that way you're not wondering, like, is something wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. You just don't understand how the human body works. And now we finally uncovered that hormones run our world. And some people are very, very imbalanced with their hormones. And when you're that imbalanced, you're not going to make the right decisions. It may